007.
What up, everybody? It's your man Dame D NYDC. It's two mics up. We back Monday night with another banger of an episode. And man, tonight I'm excited because we're doing things with a little bit of a twist here. A lot of times we try to refrain from religion and diving into some things that some people may find controversial. But this is a different twist, and we have a novelist and an author who's really big on change with supernatural, the occult, military. It's a whole vibe. And his vibe and his energy, man, I want you guys to really enjoy and really just partake in this. Open up your mind, if you will, and really just enjoy this ride this evening. And without further ado, I'm going to bring to the other mic today's guest, Mr. Guy Quintero. Guy, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing magnificent. Thank you so much for having me, Damon.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. You really, through your work, have really spun a different narrative, if you will. And coming from what some people are really maybe not into, Christian horror, if you will. You have a diverse set of books, and we're going to talk about your newest today. But before we get into that, Guy, I have to start at the beginning. We can't really get into that without knowing, like, who is Guy, the person. Give us some background as to what led you to really get into Christian horror.
Well, that's a really good question. I've been fascinated with the Bible my entire life, and I feel like that is the original horror novel. To be
Mm,
honest with you,
okay.
there's a lot of things that we don't touch on in Christianity that the Bible talks about. A lot of things that I think people find fascinating that have the horror aspect to it, such as, oh, for example, there's zombies in the
Mm,
Bible.
mm.
There's vampires. There's cannibals. There's backwater cultists. There's giants. There's said vampires, right?
Right.
Okay. There's demons. There's nightmarish fallen angels that, and I feel like the Bible was one of the main inspirations for a lot of the horror that we see now in the modern era.
Hmm.
A lot of people talk about, there's nothing. There's a quote from the Bible that there's nothing new under the sun. And I
Mm,
feel like a lot of things that we touch on nowadays that we enjoy so much,
yeah,
that came originally from the Bible. Like, for a perfect example would be The Walking Dead, right? They talk
true,
about zombies,
true.
and there's a warning in the Bible, and I'm not very good at remembering precise verses, so uh, forgive me, folks. You'll probably have to Google it, but you might find this fascinating. But there is a warning about when zombies approach, not to answer your door, stay quiet in your
Mm,
domicile, and the Bible warns about that, and it speaks about these creatures that they move about in the village, and you just have to wait till they pass.
mm, mm. And, and that you say, going back, I to come from somewhat of a religious background, grew up, my family's Baptist, went to Catholic church, went to Lutheran schools, went back to Catholic high school. So it is uh it is a his story, as told by others, but there's a lot of truth in that. And that, was that part of your vivid imagination then? Really, was that what really awakened your imagination to really want to delve and dive further into, fast forward to where you are today in your writing journey and in your authorship journey?
Yes, sir.
Mm,
I've always found myself drawn to it.
mm,
Uh, it's and the thing is, and most Christians would consider me a heretic for this, but I've always been drawn to the more. I've always been excited and drawn to the more dark elements, the apocryphal
mm,
elements, the things that people don't really want to talk about.
mm,
And I think that now that a lot of people are awakening to it, I've
mhm,
noticed uh, there are more videos on YouTube and on TikTok and all the outlets, in regards to these elements of the Bible that most Christians don't speak about. And
Mm,
I think we don't probably don't speak about it because there is this innate fear that if you draw attention to it, you bring it into your life.
right.
I've gotten that from a lot of Christians, and the Bible I think does warn about that. You need to be careful because the door does swing both ways.
Hmm.
But that is one of the fears that I do not have because I have faith in Christ that to protect me and watch over me and love me.
Well, I mean, just as a person or a fan, a reader, I like to read things that are challenging, that are different. I don't necessarily believe that, if you read or certain things that you're bringing certain things. Now, I do believe if you pray or you delve further into those things, then yes, I do think certain doors can be open. But I think that's a personal opinion, and just like again, we're not getting into Christianity here today, ladies and gentlemen. It's your personal belief and it's your personal journey. So let's put that to the side and let's talk about character development then and your books. And how do you balance that? Because I find it interesting your characters like have these diverse backgrounds, and like how do you balance it when you look at you have combat veterans, psychics, and they're really working in tandem, if you will, creating like cohesive teams that are really dynamic within it. And I want to make sure I get this right because I had some time to kind of read some of it. The Unholy Slaying Agency. Like how does that whole character development work?
Well, that's an amazing question. When I was in the service, well, first it came from my time in the service because I was in the
Okay.
service for 10 years.
Okay.
Did three tours in Iraq, and I have the privilege of serving with a very dynamic and amazing group of individuals while I was on a reconnaissance team during my third tour in Iraq, and we came together from different walks of life.
Hmm.
Uh, my team commander was a hardcore Italian gentleman, and my weapons gunner, he for my team, he was a good old country boy. Good old country boy. He grew up hunting in the wilderness and
Mm.
living the wilderness lifestyle. And then my our medic, Doc Cooper, um, sweet guy, great guy. He was a linebacker,
Wow.
I think for one of the Texas universities.
Wow.
So, but
Wow.
he was biggest heart you'll ever meet. He's terrifying to meet him. He's huge, massive, massive corn-fed country boy, but the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And so we all came together from different walks of life, and we
Right.
all had our specialties that we applied to the team. And of course, we did some cross training there,
Hmm.
but it's because one of the things I've learned about being in the service is there's no such thing as an army of one.
Right.
There
Right.
is, and that's the saying that they have in the army of one. It's not true because the team is your strength.
Mm.
Team is your strength, and diversity is your strength in that regard because
Mm.
everyone
I
brings
love that.
something to the table, a different thought process, in which it allows you to approach something different if your original thought process did not originally work. So, as far
Mm.
as how my teams go in my stories, I apply that same logic as far
Mm.
as diversity being the strength of the team.
Love that. Love that.
The different and not just their specialties in combat, but also their backgrounds. Some of these individuals in the story, they come from different backgrounds. In book two, for example, Artemis Coleman is the first African American woman to lead a team
Mm. Wow.
of USA agents, and
Wow.
she is because of this. She runs a tight ship, and she understands that there's a lot of pressure on her to perform to make us all look good.
Mm. Mm.
And because she's been given this opportunity. And then you look at another team in book three, Gabriel Agapito, and he's from the Philippines, and
Wow.
he's an immigrant from the Philippines. So I believe firmly in diversity, and I firmly believe that it is what gives us our strength in the military because of serving in the military and being with so many wonderful and dynamic individuals with different backgrounds.
Mm. And I want to go deeper then because it's true in sports, work, life, you have, I would hope you would have a diverse group of friends or a tribe or whatever you call. I would hope because I think that means you're a fulfilled person or filled with things that you can learn from and take from and apply in different segments of your life. But if you could, Guy, if you could just get a little deeper, like if you could like discuss the challenges and the rewards of really writing, with such a varied cast, because I don't, I love how you bring in the diversity, but there has to be a challenge and a reward in that. And did you take that, from your own experience, being, a veteran and serving in the military? And thank you for your service. But, is that the draw? And that is that really the challenge and reward? Sometimes you just kind of look at yourself when you're writing, play, nah, this is not it. Or there was something that you can rely on or pull from to say, hey, this really works in this point or moment of the book or the story.
And another amazing question. Yes, it's both a blessing and a curse because it requires me to do a lot of research to write from the perspective of someone whose life I've never led.
Right.
And and on top of that, there is the beauty of it is that it gives more immersion to the story. It brings the characters to life because they're no longer just words on a paper. They start to become thought forms and people in the minds of the readers. And the theater of the mind is such an important thing to maintain. One of the things I've noticed that when I read, and I'm not going to call anyone out here, it's just when I read other authors, that some of the characters all feel the same. That's not reality. That's not reality we live in.
Right.
In America, we're a melting pot. So I've met people who speak with different accents, and that isn't pointing that out. Pointing out someone's from the South, or maybe I have a thick California accent.
Right.
So pointing that out there's nothing wrong with that. I think that adds beauty and depth to the
To the
story.
story. Yes, I agree.
And these people, and it helps the reader develop an attachment as well because they feel more real. They don't feel like something that's cookie cutter. It becomes tangible.
And you talked about, you mentioned it too, like how you research and things. I want to even transition to that for a moment, because your stories have also this supernatural element to it, and in the series you blend like military tactics with the occult knowledge. Like how are you able to really, I get the military tactics part, but the occult knowledge and that piece, and you integrate these two disparaging, elements to create a believable world where both coexist. Like, how did you really hone in on bringing those pieces together?
That is a very difficult balancing act.
Okay.
That's a very difficult balancing act because you don't want too much of it. I don't want because eventually, if you have too much of it, it's no longer horror. It becomes fantasy.
Right.
And everything is a balancing act. So a lot of it is just, I have to think, how would I apply this to? A perfect example would be the munitions they use to take out demons. Like, how would I realistically apply that? The knowledge that I know about from my occult studies, because I study occult, I'm fascinated by it. How do I apply that to my training in the service? And so I thought about it, and I was like, well, what's one of the things used to neutralize demonic entities? People who cleanse homes, for example, would use quartz.
Right.
So I thought to myself, okay, well, what would the agents use? How do the agents utilize this? Now, if they're neutralizing a demonic vector that they're trying to hunt down, perhaps the agency would come up with quartz rounds, quartz ammunition.
Okay.
And when I was in the service, I was thinking I used all types of ammunitions when I was in the service. So I've used HEDP, which is high explosive dual purpose, and I used AP rounds, armor piercing rounds, and I've also used just standard ball rounds. I've used incendiary rounds. So I started thinking, how can I apply the knowledge that I have from the service into making this a believable? And I take a lot of that inspiration from Tom Clancy as well, because he liked to keep things balanced.
Yeah.
He liked to keep things balanced, and I'm hoping one day I could be seen as the Black Tom Clancy.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. He writes some good stuff too, man. He really does. I enjoy his books as well. And you know, thinking about it, even along Tom Clancy lines, you have this clandestine type feel, especially with the agency as it operates, and its relationship with the government itself. And you know, how do you intertwine the two, because they're two separate entities, and you're really, without really giving the story, you are recruiting, through the agency, combat veterans and psychics, right? So like, how does that portion kind of blend in? Because like, it makes me think of Tom Clancy now that you mentioned, because he writes in that manner. So how do you come across and build up that story, that hidden storyline in your pieces of work?
Well, once again, pulling from my time in the service, you learn about clearances, security clearances,
Mm, yeah.
and there's a lot of secret scroll stuff that goes on in the military. Uh, a lot of conspiracy theorists. I'm not going to confirm. Sometimes they're right about things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, there's different types of clearances, and everything's kind of on a need to know basis
Mm,
in that regard. So when I approached the agency and I was, how are they going to keep this a secret? Well, I just kind of drew back on that. Security clearances, need to know bases. Uh, Usually, and also the agency is rather small for a certain reason, and that reason is the shroud of entropy. The shroud of
mm.
entropy in the series that I've created is a psychological and spiritual phenomenon that happens to individuals when they witness supernatural events for the first time.
Wow.
So, what happens is the mind becomes addled.
Mm,
People who aren't used to seeing a 9 foot tall slobbering werewolf in front of them usually freak out, for lack of a better term, and they
right.
they have a mental episode, a psychotic break.
Mm-hmm.
They witness something like this, and they either faint, they become gibbering messes, which makes them incoherent with how they react and how they speak and how they observe what they're seeing, how they observe what they're taking in, and uh, what makes the agents special is they're not affected by the shroud of entropy.
Mm.
So
Okay.
when a civilian in my series gets interviewed, when they've witnessed something supernatural, for example, if you were to see a werewolf, they would recount it as a bear. I saw a grizzly bear, and
Uh,
their details. I fainted. I saw a grizzly bear, and their details become unreliable.
mm.
They're unable to function when they're dealing with this. Agents and scryers are individuals who have been examined and tested by
Wow.
the agency, very rare portion of society that are able to witness these vectors, this is what they're referred to as monstrosities vectors, and still able to function properly.
Mm. Mm.
Still able to keep their right thoughts and wits about them, and still able to apply the hate down range, which is a military saying,
Wow.
to neutralize the vectors or apprehend them.
Man, that's deep. I mean, I'm sitting here like in my mind, like that's really deep thought, and process, and it's very interesting, man. You got to be, your experience speaks loud and clear, and someone working for the government, I get it. Working for the government, yeah, there's a whole lot of things that, yeah, people are not really. They talk about it, and there's some truth to it. And you're right, and I'm gonna leave it there. And I want to transition too, Guy, because like specifically here in your third book in the series, Door to Darkness. Um, it really escalates, the supernatural threats faced by the agency. And without giving any spoilers, like, can you hint at any maybe new types of entities or occult dangers that, might be introduced that, you know, people who follow and have been following along might be interested to see or hear about?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I love to give a little bit away, so I don't mind giving a few spoilers away. I won't give the main one away, but what I will say is, what I will say is that Door to Darkness deals with sleep paralysis demons.
Hmm. Okay.
It's something that's become very prevalent in our society. People have been talking about it a lot. But sleep paralysis demons, shadow people, the boogeyman, these are entities from a parallel dimension of existence that the agents have to deal with.
Hmm.
And of course, there's a biblical aspect to it, but I won't give too much away in that regard. But now the agents are having to do investigations to find out why children are going into these comas while they're sleeping.
Okay.
And they find out that it's these sleep paralysis demons that are causing the issues. And they have to figure out a way to not only neutralize and stop the sleep paralysis demons, but go over to the realm where these children's souls have been pilfered and return the souls back to the bodies with the help of the scryers.
Wow,
So,
man, that's deep. That's deep. And sleep paralysis is a thing. Like you said, it has been. I don't want to say it's a thing, but it's become a thing that's become more acknowledged, as you said, recently.
yes, sir.
And digging in even further in that, like you have, I guess what we here thought as we were looking into it, two contrasting, I guess, approaches and motivations from the teams that are led by Gabriel, and the diver team, I think it is, that's led by I think it was Harlan Gray. Now,
Yes, correct.
how do those tensions between those two teams really develop or play into the plot development, if you will? And what's the difference between the two teams that really are, like, I guess, at the forefront of the story?
Well, the two teams, Gabriel leads Butcher team,
Hmm.
and Harlan leads Diver team.
Okay.
And Butcher team is a veteran team. They're kind of they're stuck in their ways. They have their standard operating procedures that they're used to, and each team in the agency has their own mission, their own specialty. Uh, and Butcher's specialty is hunting down dark sorcerers,
Hmm.
practitioners of the left-handed path. That's their specialty, is to hunt them down and neutralize them or capture justice. And most of the members of Butcher Team have suffered at the hands of a sorcerer, and it's usually how they came to understand that they weren't affected by the Shroud of Entropy.
Okay.
So because of that, they suffered at the hands of these individuals. They harbor um, a
A
special
little,
enmity for them.
yeah,
Yeah,
little bit,
yeah,
yeah,
a
a little
little animosity towards them.
bit.
They feel some kind of way,
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
people who practice dark magic, and they are brought into this operation because they initially receive reports that a dark practitioner might be the one responsible for the children ending up in these comas. Well, there's
Mm,
also Diver Team. So Diver Team is led by Harlan Gray, and Diver Team is a hybrid outfit of scryer and agent. So they're agents that are trained in the scryer arts as well. And scryers are in my series are the spiritual support wing. They are
okay,
psychics,
okay,
priests, priestesses, pastors, people that help with the spiritual arm of the Unholy
yeah,
Slaying Agency.
right.
And because of that, they kind of butt heads. So that,
Mm,
that sets them as opposing forces. But there's also more of a I like to look. There's a deeper analogy behind it. It is the duality of our nation, and I
mm,
feel that we butt heads, but eventually, like the teams in the story, but eventually they come together for the good of the mission, which is,
mm,
in my opinion, the good of the nation, and eventually putting aside their differences after arguing and hurt feelings and all that, and
uh-huh.
working together. And when they start working together, they realize that it all starts coming together, and that they are more successful than working individually.
Man, that's all. I mean, it feels so real. It feels like, we in the world that we're living today. No matter what side you fall on, no matter what your religious beliefs are, there is that thing that, if we do come to understand that we are stronger together, we're better when we're united, uh trying to, face or conquer the same things, or demons, if you like, however you want to say it, which I think is apropos for today's conversation. Man, we have really flown through I mean, this has been such an engaging and eye-opening conversation that I've really enjoyed. And as we come to the back end, guy, I want to give you a moment to, if there is something that I did not ask, or something that you would like to share before we close out today's amazing conversation. I want to give you a moment to go ahead and do so. So please take a moment. Is there anything you want to share, or that I didn't ask today?
Yeah, well, my door is always open to my readers. I am on Instagram. That's my main platform I use to reach out to my readers and to promote my work. At Guy Quintero, real simple, just my name, one word. And all my books are available at BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, and anywhere books are sold. So that's not just relegated to the United States. You can buy my books anywhere around the world through Kobu, any other outlets like that.
Oh man, look, we're gonna make sure that we put that in the show notes. We're gonna put those links in the notes, ladies and gentlemen. We want you to go out and, like I said at the top of the show, open your mind. Do not get personally your personal feelings involved. It's reading, and sometimes when you open your mind, you can find great content, things that you may question and say, man, hey, I never knew that. Or it may spur you on to want to reach out to the guy and have a conversation. He's open, his door is open, and this is what our platform is all about, creating that sense of community like he's doing with his books, with the twist, which is okay, ladies and gentlemen. Guy, it's been such a pleasure having you on, man. I really thank you for taking time out. And I want to shout out Steven Joyner, man, for making this connection. Steven, I really appreciate you. Continue success to you, Guy, and everything that you put your hands on and create, man. Thank you so much.
Likewise, sir. Thank you for having me, Damon. It has been a pleasure. This was like talking with an old friend.
Hey, that's how we like it here, man. The two mics up. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been another fantastic episode, season 7, Two Mics Up, Monday nights, 8 p.m. on the #1 network for positive programming, the Mogul TV Global Network, and here on my channel, the Infusion TV channel. So make sure you go out and you download the Mogul TV Global app while it's free, because we're growing. We're in 45 countries now. We have 100 million viewable subscribers on your Amazon and Roku TV device. So download that Mogul TV Global app. Watch all of my network show mates, the Infusion TV channel. We blowing up. Check us out. Support, and we really appreciate you all. And there you have it. You make sure you check it out. This TV that's inspiring. All content where young children can sit down and watch this channel all day. No nudity, no cursing, no violence, all positive programming. And I want to thank you all so much for joining us. Hope you go into the holidays, with your families. Have a safe and blessed holiday. And I'm going to leave you with a few points like we always do at the end of each and every show. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out. 007.